Well, a good day to you at noon. I'm Frederick Price. Here's a look at some of the stories that we're following this afternoon. Downtown went dark overnight. The impacts and repairs after the power outages. Plus, Russia hits Ukraine with yet another wave of deadly strikes. What Ukraine's president said he needs to fend off Russian aggression. And a suspect was arrested after a string of murders in California. Why police believe they stopped him just in time. But first, meteorologist Scott Coper joins us live from the Arkansas State Fair. Scott, it finally feels like fall, finally being the relative word there. How are things looking on your end?
Frederick, it truly is fair weather in Arkansas. We had that cool morning earlier. We're starting to warm up though, but I'll tell you, it's beautiful here at the Arkansas State Fairgrounds. I can't even find a cloud in the sky. It's going to be a really nice next couple of days. Take a look at these temperatures. 2 degrees, 55 in Batesville, 62 in Hot Springs. A little bit warmer in parts of southern Arkansas, but you folks don't worry. It is going to be warm, cooling down rather, over the next couple of days there. Wind speeds are also certainly something to note here on the noon hour. 18-mile-per-hour gust in Clinton, 17 miles per hour in Searcy. It's likely going to be a breezy day with those northwesterly winds, 5 to 10, gusting as high as 15. All in all, a beautiful day with a high temperature of 65 degrees today. Lots of sunshine, not just today, but the next couple of days as well. However, we're going to be talking about some really cool temperatures. In fact, we very well could shatter some all-time record lows, and many of us could see our first frost or freeze, not only tomorrow, but potentially again on Wednesday. I'll have a look at the latest frost and freeze advisories and warnings coming up. We're here at the State Fair because it is THV 11 Day at the Fair Mission Home Day. Every year we partner with the Morgan Nick Foundation to make sure every kid has a wristband with their parents' contact information just in case they're to get separated. We want to make sure we can reunite everyone and they head home safely as a family. Come see us, the team here. We got Karen, Michaela, Sarah, Cam, much of the THV 11 family. We're going to be here all day. Come see us. We'll check back in here in just a bit.
Thank you, Scott. Looks like a lot of fun out there. We'll check back in later in the newscast. Well, overnight, downtown Little Rock was in darkness for several hours because of a large power outage. The only light coming from emergency generators. Street lights were also out, and several downtown hotels and businesses were affected. Entergy Arkansas telling us the outage was due to an underground fire and a manhole. We have a map of the affected area, as you'll see there. The darkened area is generally where the outage occurred. Nearly 200 customers. Little Rock fire crews say they found a manhole fire near 2nd and Broadway about 2 hours after the first reports of smoke in downtown. Overnight, we saw crews working in that area near the Pulaski County Courthouse. The county announced the courthouse will be closed today because of the outage. Well, happening today, it's the deadline to pay your personal property taxes in Arkansas. The deadline is usually October 15th, but since it fell on Saturday, you have until today. An important note, the tax collection box has been moved from 2nd Street to the Pulaski County Administration parking lot because of the outage repairs. Well, this afternoon, Arkansas State Police are investigating a deadly shooting by a sheriff's deputy. It happened on Sunday in Decatur, that's near Bentonville. State Police say a Benton County deputy shot 71-year-old Nelson Amos with a shotgun after the man reportedly refused to drop a handgun. Investigators are now working to determine whether the use of deadly force was justified. Well, developing this afternoon, a North Little Rock police officer is on administrative leave after firing his weapon late Saturday evening. Took place after officers arrived to a shots fired call. That's when police say they found multiple suspects. The 4 suspects who police say were armed have been detained. There were no injuries involved in this incident. No names have been released yet, but we'll continue to follow this as we get more information. And police are continuing their investigation of the death of a 27-year-old man in Stuttgart. Arkansas State Police say the body of Dalton Smith was found in an alley near a home on South Grand. They believe he was shot to death. Police have not named any suspects or motive in the killing. Smith's body was taken to the state crime lab. Well, new at noon, Russia is once again targeting Ukraine's capital city of Kyiv. The latest deadly attacks on civilians include increased use of drones, which the U.S. says are coming from Iran. Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
As police took aim at drones in the skies over Kyiv, civilians scrambled for cover. Ukraine says the Russians have stepped up attacks with suicide drones which explode on impact. A drone destroyed an apartment building in the capital, where local officials say at least 3 people died. The strikes are once again targeting civilians. Payback, many believe, for Ukraine blowing up a key bridge in territory occupied by Russia. Today's attacks come after Russia claimed over the weekend that Ukraine shelled the city of Belgorod, just over the border, wounding civilians. The Biden administration recently promised an additional $725 million in aid to Ukraine, but the military hardware won't include air defense systems.
Для України це частина.
And that's what Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his nation needs the most. He believes Russian airstrikes will end when Ukraine receives a sufficient quantity of modern and effective air defense systems. And while Russia keeps the pressure on from the air, Moscow is working to mobilize 300,000 reservists, calling up to reinforce ground troops in Ukraine. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
And total U.S. aid to Ukraine is now almost $18 billion. Well, the death toll is rising from a fire at a prison in Iran that holds political prisoners and at least 2 Americans. 8 people are now confirmed dead from the fire that started on Saturday. It is now out. Iran's government said it started during a fight among inmates. Critics dispute that claim, though. They suspect it's tied to anti-government protests that have gone on for nearly a month.
What we have heard more from the prisoners and their families is that they have attacked one of the wards and they have thrown tear gas inside. There has been shooting inside the prison, beating.
And CBS News has now learned that one Iranian American citizen is safe inside Evin prison, but he has been moved to solitary confinement. He's serving a sentence of 10 years for espionage charges. His family says he's a political pawn and a political hostage and is calling on President Biden to get him out ASAP. Well, police in Stockton, California say they've arrested a man suspected of killing 5 men since July. As Danya Backus reports, officials believe they interrupted him as he was about to kill again.
A 2-week manhunt in Central California is finally over.
We are sure we stopped another killing.
Stockton police arrested Wesley Brownlee. They say he was driving around Stockton with a gun, dressed in black, with a mask around his neck.
Our surveillance team followed this person while he was driving. We watched his patterns and determined he was on a mission to kill.
Police believe the 43-year-old ambushed and killed 5 men in Stockton between early July and late September. All but 1 were Hispanic and some were homeless. The first victim was 35-year-old Paul Yaw. His mother spoke to CBS News about her son's death earlier this month.
I don't know if we'll ever have closure because I'll never get to see my son again.
Last week, investigators released this grainy video of a suspect who they believe was also responsible for killing a man last year in Oakland and wounding a homeless woman in Stockton. Kevin Lincoln is the mayor of Stockton. He says the killings have weighed heavily on the community, particularly the unhoused population, and that the investigation is still ongoing.
We'll do everything that we can, and we'll utilize every resource at our disposal to ultimately bring the person or persons responsible for these senseless acts of violence to justice.
The suspect is currently being held in county jail without bail and is expected to be arraigned tomorrow on murder charges. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, keeping you safe and sound this afternoon as School Bus Safety Week gets started across the country today. This week, school districts are working with law enforcement to catch illegal driving. Remember, drivers must stop when you see a stopped school bus with red flashing lights and stop arm extended. Some officials feel there's a general lack of concern around school buses.
We have a video of a gentleman who is waving at the stop arm camera as he's driving by, and that's a pretty egregious situation.
Reports of drivers ignoring the school bus laws are up this school year nationwide, but that may be because more districts have cameras on buses to catch the dangerous behavior. Well, the Department of Education launched a beta test Friday for the student loan forgiveness application. This is the first step in canceling up to $20,000 in federal student loans, depending on financial aid and salary. The beta period will help the department monitor the site's performance before the official launch later this month, helping them find out and work out any bugs. And the AP preseason men's basketball poll was just announced, and the Razorbacks will enter the season as the 10th ranked team in the country. It's the second year in a row the Hogs will start the season ranked, their first time starting ranked back-to-back years since 1997. They are the second highest ranked SEC team behind Kentucky Coming in at 4, the season tips off on November 7th against North Dakota State, but they have an exhibition game against the 12th-ranked Texas Longhorns on October 29th. Well, as we continue with THV 11 News at noon on this Monday in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, after the break, we hear the story of one woman in her battle with a certain type of breast cancer. Plus, Scott.
It's a beautiful day here at the Arkansas State Fairgrounds. It's not only beautiful weather, but it's also THV 11 Mission Home Day. I'll tell you what that means, as well as a look at that cold extended forecast coming up when THV 11 News at noon returns.